Hi students, in this Fireside chat we're going to talk a little bit about course goal number 4, which is identify and apply appropriate concepts from primary and secondary sources for persuasive and expository writing. So this goal, much like goal 2, also sounds incredibly daunting. What is identify and apply appropriate concepts? What are appropriate concepts? So I'm going to break this goal down for you a little bit, talk about kind of what we're thinking as we created these goals. So we know that we're thinking about persuasive and expository writing, as always, so writing to persuade or to explain. And then we want to think about primary and secondary sources. So we know that there are two kinds of sources. We've known this forever. So there's the kind of sources that are immediate, so research, your personal experience, anything that you go out and find out for yourself. And then secondary sources are sources that are about that kind of information. So if a scientist, if you go out and do an experiment on water quality, so that would be a primary source. If you go out and do an interview with someone, that would be a primary source. Now, if you read an article about an experiment on water quality, that's a secondary source. If you read an article that was an interview with that same person, that would be a secondary source. So the difference between primary and secondary is just the immediacy of the source versus having it sort of one step or maybe a couple steps removed. So we have two kinds of sources, and we'll be using a little bit of both. Throughout your college experience, you'll be using a little bit of both kinds of sources. And so what we need to think about is we're identifying and applying, and so we want to figure out, all right, so what are those appropriate concepts, and then how do we apply them to our work? And so what we want to think about with this goal is, all right, so we're going to be learning so much from our sources. So our primary and secondary sources are going to give us a lot of ideas, a lot of things to think about. And we want to take those ideas and apply them to our own work. And so one of the things that we've done this semester is we took a look at advertising, and we analyzed images of advertising, and then we thought about advertising in a critical way. And so, all right, so we want to take these ideas from advertising and perhaps apply them elsewhere. And so we took, an easy example is, we took ideas from Jib Fowles in 15 Basic Appeals, those 15 concepts for how advertising works on us, and we applied it elsewhere. So we took those concepts and we applied it to a persuasive piece in which we tried to persuade our marketing director here at DMAC that our feedback is valid and we have some really good insights on the DMAC Viewbook. So we took a concept from Jib Fowles and we applied it elsewhere. Now we can go even further than that. Let's say you think the idea of the 15 Basic Appeals is really interesting, and you're really interested in the way that the appeals to let's say dominance is used. And so maybe you take that concept from our advertising unit and you're going to apply it later on, and you're going to think about, all right, so I'm seeing a lot of rap videos in which dominance and this appeal to dominance is really important and kind of really sort of stepped up. And so you're going to take this concept that was originally based in advertising and you're going to apply it to something else. So you're taking an idea and you're thinking about, all right, so if I take this idea and I put it into this area, what happens? And what happens is we start, all right, so if we take this concept of dominance and then we start thinking about, all right, so does this work? Does this work? Well, this doesn't work, but this does work. All of a sudden we start generating a lot of interesting ideas, and eventually we come to some pretty interesting thesis statements. So the trick with this goal, I think, is to really be thinking about what ideas are really appealing to you. What kind of concepts from the materials that we're working with this semester are getting into your brain and really making you think, and then can we apply those to other places? So you're going to do this throughout your college career, not always in writing, but you're going to do it in other classes. So this is a really interesting goal, one that can be a little tricky to sort of identify, but try to keep track of your train of thought. So try to keep track of your thinking, use your pop culture wiki to help you kind of keep track of things that are interesting you or appealing to you, because that will help you apply those appropriate concepts. All right, good luck.